بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. The topic I'm going to deal today is about law harmonization. The importance of law harmonization to Islamic finance is known whenever people ask question, why is Sharia differently applied in different jurisdictions in the world? Now this is a very practical question that we hear from academicians as well as practitioners and students as well. Now, the main reason why we think that Sharia is applied in different countries differently is because of the legal structure of the countries. Now, if you look at Malaysia, for example, there are different regulatory laws, different substantive laws, different procedural laws applied to Islamic finance. For example, in 1984 or in 1983, when Islamic finance was first introduced to the country formally, what you find is there is a specific statute called Islamic Banking Act, which is applied to Islamic banking matters specifically. Now, when we look at the matters prescribed in the Act, we find that those matters are mainly regulatory matters which are applied by the Islamic banks incorporated in the country. However, when it comes to the transaction, for example, if you are applying BBA or Musharaka Mutanaqisa, the main law that you have to use to draft the contract is Contracts Act, which is a conventional law which is already enacted before even people thought about the introduction of Islamic banking. As such, we may find things which are inconsistent with Sharia in the Contracts Act, which is the main law applicable to the transactions, specifically when drafting contracts in Malaysia. Likewise, when it comes to dispute resolution, again we have to access courts. That is, suppose that the case goes to litigation. So in that case, in order to access justice, the main statutes or the legislations that we have to use are derived from conventional laws again. That is because of the legal system. So, for example, let's say the civil procedure codes applicable and the evidence laws applicable will be derived from those laws which has been enacted even before people contemplated the formation of Islamic banks in the country. So because of that, there can be conflicts between the legislations and the Sharia law applicable to Islamic finance. Due to this, we may find that some of the transactions conducted in the country are different from that we find in the classical books of Sharia and how it is practiced in other jurisdictions, for example, in GCC countries. Now, again, the probing question here is that in which jurisdiction do we practice real Sharia compliant transactions? Now, this is a very difficult question to answer, but to give a precise answer, we have to see the legal impediments faced by the jurisdictions when it comes to the application of Islamic finance, practically in those jurisdictions. And if we can't harmonize Sharia and the legislations applicable to the country, at the end of the day, in each of the jurisdictions, it is the law of the land or the statutes enacted by the parliament which will prevail over Sharia, which is the uncodified or unwritten law. So the point here is that if we were to apply true forms of Sharia in all the jurisdictions in the world uniformly, what we have to do is harmonize Sharia with the legislations in place in the countries, or we need to adopt a codification process whereby Sharia will be codified as part of the law of the country in order to enforce it fully and effectively in those jurisdictions. Therefore, today I urge all the viewers of this video to think about harmonization of Sharia and the legislations applicable in your jurisdictions to have a better and a sustainable environment for Islamic finance. Without doing this, without concentrating on this, it would be impossible to find true Islamic finance transactions being practiced in the jurisdictions in the world uniformly. Today, we don't need to talk about Sharia harmonization. We need to talk about harmonization between Sharia and the legislations applicable to jurisdictions. Without this, without focusing on this, it would be impossible to achieve 100% Sharia compliance transactions in the world. Thank you.